Hey, it's Heidi Dawson, and this is Wednesday Wisdom, where I interview wildly successful people from across the world, where we get an inside view into what their daily life looks like. Success leaves clues, and on Wednesdays, we're finding them. Join me now for the latest wildly successful interview. Hi, guys. Welcome to episode 120 of the Wildly Successful Lifestyle Podcast. My next guest is Madera Beckham. Madera has been a student of self-improvement for 30 years, so you know we have a lot to talk about. Now, she has had a lot of experience in psychodynamic therapy and also imagotherapy. She completed her master's thesis in cognitive styles and depression, and she's done extensive research in the field of mind-body connection and neuroscience. But her passion project is the Sober Savvy Tribe, which we're going to talk about today. She created this to help women who are bothered by their drinking and are just looking for help in being more aware and more mindful about alcohol. Sounds good to me, but find out what being a part of the Sober Savvy Tribe can mean for you in this interview. Hi, Madera. It is so nice to meet you.
Hi, thank you. Nice to meet you too.
Well, thank you so much for coming and joining me. I found you through Style Blueprint, which I love getting that email always. It's so good. So I'm glad that you were in there. And your website is the Sober Savvy Tribe, which I was immediately interested in.
Yes.
Tell us a little bit about the Sober Savvy Tribe and how it got started.
Sure. Sober Savvy Tribe is an online program for women, and it's for women who are bothered by their drinking. They're not necessarily, alcoholic, need to go to treatment, but just are bothered by their drinking, and they want a safe place to come and learn more about alcohol and share with other women. So when you come into the 21-day program, you'll have 21 days of emails, and you'll be connected with a group of women who are a lot like you. And it's like a community that you can talk to them every day.
I like that a lot. I've been on your website and I thought it was really good for many reasons, but we'll talk about some of them. So I read an article recently that said that alcohol sales and ice cream sales went up something like 700%, which I think is insane. Yeah. So I know I kind of started drinking more over COVID. And I went from when I first started out, I was drinking a couple days, working out 6 days a week. And at the end of COVID, I was drinking 6 days a week, working out 2 days a week. So, but I'm turning it back around. So it's always so interesting to me that, we were kind of stuck in our homes. And I think people just, I don't know if they were bored, but there was a lot more drinking going on. Have you found this to be a problem for people?
Yes. I mean, just about every woman I talk to says they drank more during the pandemic. And, whenever people are under stress, they drink more. I mean, that's just, a common thing. And, I think people's home life was changed with kids being home from school and mom and or dad working out of the home, and everything changed. And that causes a lot of stress too, because moms are not used to having their kids at home all the time. And then, the isolation. Isolation causes stress. So, a lot of it is like, I just don't know what to do. And people increase drinking. Yes.
Yeah. And sometimes you're maybe you, like you said, you don't know what to do. And I don't know, I think people sometimes are uncomfortable with a void.
Yes.
And we're not used to it because we're used to go, go, go. And all of a sudden sort of the world stopped and we have this void, and you're like, oh my goodness, I can't have a void. So you try to fill it.
Yes.
And you're filling it, most of the time we're not filling it with great things. We're filling it with, ice cream and alcohol, right?
Right.
Which neither one of them probably are bad alone, in moderation, but a lot, like up 700%, that's a whole lot. So how do you know, like, I know a lot of women and men too wonder if they have a drinking problem. And you talk about people whether they're bothered or not, which I think that's a really fair way to say it. So, what are some indications that you might have a drinking problem?
Yeah, and the first thing that occurs to me is just the definition of a drinking problem. I think, we've always thought of alcohol kind of in two categories. Either you can handle your alcohol or you're an alcoholic and you need to go to treatment. And now we know there's a gray area. We know that alcohol use is defined on a spectrum. And there are a lot of people in that gray area who aren't necessarily, they're not dependent on alcohol, but they're bothered by it. And they're just, they think about it a lot and they feel like maybe they'd be happier without it, or at least if they cut down and they were more mindful of their drinking.
That's really interesting. I haven't heard that before. So the gray area, I think a lot that makes sense because, if you have a big problem,
Mhm.
everyone around you, it's hard to hide that.
Right.
If you are bothered by it and it's not affecting your life,
Right.
you kind of know it is, then maybe you're in the gray area where you're sort of like, could I be better without it? Could I be healthier without it? Would I be making better decisions without it? And I like that about your website where you talk about it may be that you don't want to be a teetotaler.
Right.
I don't really want to be. Like I enjoy a glass of red wine or and a drink at dinner. So I don't want to quit completely altogether, but I also don't want to drink 6 days a week, right?
Right. Right.
I think
Yeah.
that puts me in the gray area, doesn't it?
And the program is, you can do whatever you want. If you want to quit, you can. And if you just want to cut down and learn to be more mindful, you can. I think one good thing about this is it kind of takes the shame out of thinking you have a problem.
Okay.
Everything in our program is just there's no shame, no judgment, no labels. We're just all kind of talking about where we are with it. And I like that part of it, that it's judgment free and you're not slapped with a label that's
Right.
negative. Yeah.
Right. Because it is, I mean, I don't know. I think so many people when you do something a lot, you think other people do it a lot. But when you get
Right.
down to it, it's not necessarily true. So I don't know what the average amount of people that drink, but I know that there's a lot of people in America, all over the world, really. Well, not all over the world, but in America at least, that do drink more than they want to.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. And there's such a kind of a stigma. If you quit drinking, everybody wants to know why. And they
oh my
think,
goodness.
oh my gosh, something terrible must have happened to you. And, I've been alcohol free for a long time and nothing terrible happened to me. I'm just happier not drinking.
Right.
And, it's if someone decides, well, I just don't want to drink, or maybe like I'm going out and I don't want to have a drink tonight, you can just say, this is what I want to do and be okay. So I would really love to raise that awareness that there is kind of a health concern and there's a middle, that it's not horrible if you quit. That doesn't mean something terrible happened.
Boy, isn't that true? I know personally, I have friends that would think it's a problem if they go on a date and he doesn't drink, and I'm just like,
Yeah, yeah.
But at the same time, when you are trying to not drink and you go out to dinner, I've read an article that said you should, to make it easier, you could say, oh, it makes me sick, which actually it really does kind of for me. Like if I have more than 2 drinks, I'm sick. So I know not to do that.
Right.
But it isn't it better if we're just honest and just
Yeah.
say, it's so freeing just to say, no, I don't want it.
Right. And that's what I've always done. I just, people can kind of imagine a lot of things about you if you don't drink, but if you just go into the situation and you're relaxed and you feel confident about it, and you're happy and having fun and joking and you're
Yeah.
fine. It's all about your attitude going into a situation. And if anybody ever asks, it's amazing how few people ask, why are you not drinking? But when they do, I just say, I don't drink. I'm just happier not drinking. I'm just a happier person. And then they're seeing me as a happy person. So
Yeah, they're
it
like,
matches.
and maybe they wish that they were that way too.
Yeah. Yeah.
What do you say to people that are afraid that they will be considered no fun if they stop drinking? Because that is sort of, I mean, that's the message we get,
I
right?
know, I know. That is such a great question. It really is. And I think a lot of it is the message we get. Like, if we're celebrating, we need to drink. If something bad happens, you should drink. But when people have been drinking a long time and it's, becoming more of a problem, or, you're bothered more by it, one thing that's happened through time is you forgot what you used to do where you really were having fun.
Right.
Like when we were children, we didn't drink and we really had fun. We had natural fun. And I think if you do quit alcohol or lessen it, you do need to start to connect with those activities that you like to do, that are really fun for you. And if you're having fun, nobody else is going to think you're not fun, you
Right.
know?
They're not questioning that.
Right,
Uh,
right.
okay, so you talk about neural connections to drink.
Hmm.
And I'm very interested in that. I'm fascinated with the brain and
Hmm.
what it causes and all of the ways that we can work with our brain. And because we control our brain, right? We don't we our brain doesn't control us unless we just are on autopilot.
Right.
That is what I try to push in. I'm a pusher in my podcast, is that we control what we do, right? And
Right, right.
if we just leave it to our brain to say we want to do this, I mean, it can mess with us. So
Exactly.
tell us about the neural connections to drinking. Is that why it's so addictive?
Yes, definitely. And mainly we're wired, when you drink alcohol, it causes euphoria, it causes pleasure. And there are chemicals that are produced in your body that are pleasure chemicals, like the same ones when you go out and exercise. But our bodies like to keep homeostasis, balance. And so our body will create these other chemicals that are stress hormones and stress chemicals that bring us back down. So that's just kind of interesting. That happens in our body when we drink alcohol. And then another thing is, I love the neuropsychology and the wiring, and how we're wired.
Right.
When you drink for a long time, you have an association in your brain with alcohol causes pleasure, or it gets rid of stress. And so that connection, the more and longer you drink, it's very, very powerful. So
Wow.
that if you're feeling stressed, you're going to remember that neural pathway is going to make you, okay, I'm going to have a drink. And it's very overpowering. Yes. And so one of the things we learn is how to talk to ourselves and kind of change that wiring in our brains.
What, because it is so powerful. I mean, just I can think about times where when if I'm very stressed, it's like you think about it, I'm like, oh, that would just kind of take the edge off.
Yes,
Probably not a good thing,
absolutely.
right? I should be able to
Well,
take the edge off in another way. And I
yeah, and
can't.
there's been the question, why do you have an edge to begin with? It's how
Yeah.
you handle stress,
Yeah,
and
that's exactly right. Maybe there's to look at another way. And what I have started doing is to connect exercise. So if
Mhm.
I get stressed, I connect exercise and breathing. So I'll do a breathing exercise, and it helps every time. Uh,
Yeah.
and then another avenue that I use to de-stress rather than alcohol is I think about what's going on right now, and I know that what is going on right now is going to work out okay. Like, I'm okay. And
Yeah.
what is going to, everything that's happening is happening for me, not to me, and it's going to end up fine, and it always does.
Yes, it does.
And
And
so
we just
that
have these fears that are wired in our brains, that it's not, I have to do something about it.
right.
But you're exactly right. When you tell different stories to yourself that are more true, this will pass. I'm going to get through this. I'm strong enough, definitely. I have what it takes on the inside to get through this.
Yeah, so that's something that people could do is, and I think people should get on your 21 day program if they are bothered by their drinking. And I want to stress that it's not about not drinking at all, because a
Right.
lot of times people won't join a program because they're like, well, they're going to make me not drink. It isn't about that. It's about getting with other people and recognizing that it's okay. There's nothing wrong, as long as there's nothing wrong with you and it's not affecting your life, to have a drink or two. I mean, even like Dr. Hyman, who I love, says that a glass of red wine can be good for you. And,
Hmm.
and now if you drink to excess, obviously it starts affecting what you eat, because I've noticed in the past, if I overdrink, I overeat. I, I have a lot of control until I have a drink or two. And then I'm like, oh, give me those fries.
I know when I used to drink, it made me more hungry.
Yeah, it
I
would.
remember
I mean,
that.
I'd go into it not hungry at all, and then end up, I'm like, why am I eating these fries?
I know. And your inhibitions that usually say, well, I don't need those fries, go out the window.
Right,
I have to have those fries right now.
right, exactly. Okay, so that's another way is it can help you with your weight loss. I mean, honestly, not drinking can help you with that. So, all right. So then, we talked a little bit about the communicating to people, because I think that if we can make it easy when you go out to dinner with friends, to say, I'm not going to drink.
Mhm.
Sometimes you can be talked into it, though. It's like,
Yeah.
and I think a lot of times it's because you don't want to disappoint people.
Hmm.
Have you found that to be true?
Yeah, I think the main thing from everyone I've talked to and from my own experiences, you're thinking the other person thinks something's wrong with you because you're not drinking, because that's how our culture looks at it,
Yeah, that's sad. I mean,
I
that really
know.
is a sad thing.
And we do care about what other people think about us, and we don't want to think they're imagining these things about us that aren't true. So that's one way we give in. And in the Sober Savvy Tribe, we all talk about how are ways that you can prepare yourself before you go out to that dinner. Get your mind centered, have a plan. Mocktails are so much more prevalent now
I
in
love that.
restaurants. Yeah.
Yes, they are.
And there are so many good mocktails, and they
Now,
look like
explain for
drinks.
everyone what a mocktail is.
Yeah, it is a non-alcoholic drink.
Yeah.
And there are all these companies that create non-alcoholic beverages now. You can get non-alcoholic wine, non-alcoholic vodka, bourbon, whatever you like. And some of the restaurants are starting to serve these too. And I know when I go out to dinner, I always order like something in a really pretty glass. Like I say, bring it in a wine glass. And, I'll make up my own concoction of a mocktail and it'll look like a drink, and sometimes
Yeah.
people don't even hear you ordering and they see your pretty drink, and it just looks
They're like,
like you.
oh, I want one of those. And you're like, okay, yeah.
Yeah, you can have one of these and put alcohol in it.
Yeah, sure, if you want it. Uh,
Yeah.
okay, so your 21-day program, it allows for that. It allows for drinking. It doesn't, it just
Yes.
talks about being more mindful about your drinking, which I really like that approach. Have you found that to be easier than people having to quit altogether?
Oh, absolutely. It's all the women who come into my program, they're just kind of in shock. At first, they're like, really? I can drink and nobody's going to get mad at me. And, because what we're trying to do is take the shame and the judgment out of it. So, most of the women who do my program are still drinking, or they'll like try to quit and then they can't make it. But that's the point. And they'll come back and talk about what happened, or what were they thinking when they drank again when they didn't want to. And that's the whole point of it, is to have people to talk about your drinking behavior and kind of pinpoint what's a problem and what's not, and how can I, if you want to moderate, you can moderate, and if you just like being alcohol free better, which a lot of people do, you
Yeah,
can go that direction too.
yeah. I think you said something earlier, and we've talked about it a little bit, about people thinking that there is a problem if you're not drinking. And
Hmm.
I find that that is a societal norm that is so backwards.
Yes,
Because
yes.
isn't it normal for us to be happy and healthy and vibrant without alcohol?
Yes,
And,
yes.
so it's almost, it should be the other way around.
Exactly.
And it
And
is.
alcohol is the only drug that people almost expect. If you quit smoking, good for you. Nobody asks you why. If
Right,
you quit,
everybody knows
right,
exactly.
you quit heroin, nobody's gonna ask you why.
That's right.
But alcohol, it's like, why did you quit alcohol? Because alcohol is a part of our culture. Our parents did it, our grandparents did it. It's gone back in time. And I think that there is kind of a movement now that is looking at that and saying, it's not healthy for everybody. It's not.
Right.
And it's not just that small population of alcoholics. It's, some people in the gray area really, it harms them and it harms their lives. And, I hope that our culture will change and, change the way they think about alcohol.
And that's what you're doing with your 21-day program, right? You're trying to affect change, and not in a harsh, judgmental way. I love that you say you're taking the shame out of it, because it's true. I mean, you have shame either way, right? It's almost like
Right.
you can't win. You have shame if you don't drink, and then you have shame if you do drink. But the
Uh-huh.
way I look at it is, if I feel shameful for myself, I'd
Mhm.
rather disappoint someone else than disappoint myself. So if I tell myself, okay, I'm not going to drink tonight,
Mhm.
and then I do, then I'm disappointing myself.
Right. Exactly. Yeah.
And I just think there's certain ways you can look at it, and whatever works for you. I'm always about trying to make sure whatever works for you. So,
Yeah.
but I also think that support, like if you have family support or friends that support you, how important is having support in the effect? I mean, like stopping or even curbing drinking.
Yeah, support is so important. It's critical. And the best part of my 21-day program is the support you get from other women. So it's okay if you come into my program and you don't have support at home or with, family members who aren't at home or good friends, because you will have support in the program from other women. And we all bounce back and forth ideas of how to kind of be ourselves around family members who don't support us. So we definitely address that, because you can't make people support you. But I think that's what's so good about always having a group of women who can relate and say, I'm dealing with the same thing. It's so much easier to solve your problems when you know that other people are dealing with the same problems and you're all in this together. And that's where you get your support.
That's really good, because like you said, it's almost like you have built-in cheerleaders, because you can't count on having support from your family, and you obviously can't count on having it from anyone. You really should you support yourself, and then you have your cheerleaders
Yeah.
that are going to support you, because they're going through the exact same thing. I love that about your program.
Yeah,
I think that's really,
absolutely.
really good. And
And
I'm
a lot of the women keep talking to each other even after the 21 days are over, because they all like each other and they want to keep, that community up.
Absolutely. That is so good. I'm fascinated by that, because when you get a tribe, it's almost like you're part of something, and you
Uh-huh.
start identifying as someone either that only drinks once a week or doesn't drink at all. And once you identify that, and you
Mhm.
identify with a group, then
Mhm.
you are so much more likely to be successful. So
Yes.
I
Yeah.
love that about your program, and I'm excited for everyone to take a look at it. I think you just had one start up, but I know you. How often do you do these?
Well, I do have one starting this Monday on March 15th. And
Okay.
then the one after that will be April 5th. It's usually the first Monday of every month, but we're doing March Madness and having two.
Oh, okay, you're going out on a limb. That's awesome. That's
Yeah.
good. You need it right now with everything coming off. I feel like we're coming off of COVID. Do you?
Yeah. Yes,
I
absolutely. And
I
we're like, what do we do now?
I was, this is so funny to me. I was at the gym this morning and I was working out and I was wearing my mask while I was working out. And I thought, it's coming up so soon. I can feel it that we're not going to have to wear masks anymore. And
Mhm.
I even said to myself, is that going to be weird?
Yeah, I
I
bet it
think
will
it is. And I'm kind of like, I do not like the idea of the whole mask thing. I don't want to wear them.
Right.
I don't feel like I should have to, but even me, I was kind of like, oh my goodness, it's gonna be weird. So,
Yes, I wonder if we're going to be more paranoid about germs now.
well, I did an interview that will be coming out in a couple weeks, and that is definitely a problem for a lot of people that we're gonna, it's gonna be like we're gonna have to toe step it in because there's gonna be some fear there.
Yeah, yeah,
So
definitely.
people may be needing your program even more.
Yes.
All right. So how do we find you online, Madera?
Yeah, my website is www.sobersavvytribe.com, and it's SOBERSAVVY tribe, TRIBE. I know sometimes people are like, how do you spell savvy?
Yes, I know. That is not one of the words that's easy to spell. So so
Right.
so SOBERSAVVYTRIBE.com.
Yes.
Sober
Yes.
Savvy Tribe. All right, Madera. And that is the 21-day program. And I encourage you, if you're looking or you're kind of thinking you might have a little problem, just go take a look at the program because it actually it's very inexpensive. And I think you get so much more for your
Mhm.
money in that program. From what I was reading, it sounded really great. So we get your expertise as well. We also get a little bit of coaching from you as well, which is
Right.
pretty exciting. So I thank you for putting together this tribe because I think a lot of people are needing it, and that's what this is all about: is finding things that make us better and
Hmm.
making a world a better place. And I appreciate that.
Absolutely. Well, thank you, Heidi.
Thank you, Madera. It's been so nice, and I'll put this in the show notes so that everyone will have the website. And then if they want to contact you directly, do you have an email?
Yes, Madera at sobersavvytribe.com. So it's Madera. That's my first name
Okay,
at sobersavvytribe.com.
great. I'll put that in the show notes as well, so everyone will have that. All
Great.
right. Well, this has been fun, and I've enjoyed it very much, and I appreciate you taking the time to come on my podcast.
Thank you. I've enjoyed it too.
Don't forget to subscribe and share with your friends because we're just going to keep going bigger and better places together, and I love that about us. Talk to you in a few days.